My name is Brooke and I am a regionally based Australian psychology student who is currently completing a Bachelor of Psychological Science with honours both part-time and online. Today I thought it might be helpful to briefly cover the relevant bodies for psychology in Australia. This is from, APAC to the APS through to AHPRA and the Psychology Board of Australia. I will start off with a little bit of a quick disclaimer though. I am a student and I'm not an expert in any of these organizations. My goal for this video is really to be informative, helpful, and to try and demystify studying psychology in Australia. Though, please make sure that you do your own due diligence surrounding any of these organizations, and I'll make sure that I link all the information and websites to any relevant places that I talk about today. Alright, so I'm going to arrange them as they would be most relevant from when you're a student through to as a working professional. I'll have all these sections timestamped, so feel free to jump through to what is most relevant for you. Alright, so let's start off with APAC, which is probably most relevant when you are considering your study options. So APAC stands for Australian Psychology Accreditation Council. Essentially, APAC is an independent organisation who assesses the standards for and the quality of psychology programs in Australia. So if you've ever heard of someone ask, is this program APAC accredited? Or if you've ever seen a university list something like, this course is APAC accredited, this is what they're referring to. If you're wondering why this is important, in Australia, it's important for programs to be APAC accredited as current advancement through the psychology pathway and subsequent registration as a psychologist tends to be contingent on completing courses that are APAC accredited. So when you're deciding which psychology program to choose or what programs are available, it is important to check whether it is APAC accredited. And how can you do this? Well, this can be achieved by either checking the APAC via their website or through the relevant institution that you intend to study with, so for example, the university. I will note that the APAC website can be a little bit confusing, so if you are unsure, don't hesitate to reach out to both APAC as well as the course coordinator of your university. However, if you do want to give it a go, you can search for APAC accredited programs via their website. If you go to their page and look for the search for an accredited psychology program page, you'll be able to find that, and I'll link it below. So say you've gotten to that page, from that point you can sort of narrow your programs down by either state, provider name, and so this is either the institution or university, area of practice, which is the area of practice endorsement, which if I was to say in layman's terms, is the closest you could probably say to like a specialty in psychology, but the term is area of practice endorsement. There are currently 9 areas of practice endorsement for psychology. So this includes things like clinical psychology, forensic psychology, educational and developmental psychology, and so on. You can also narrow down by mode of delivery, which is either on campus or online. You can narrow down by keywords, so this is anything that may help narrow down your search. And the part which probably confused me the most for the longest time was level of study. If this is something that also confuses you, I'm going to make a video that sort of talks about this in more depth, so hit on the profile if you want to look for that video. I'd also recommend ticking hide discontinued and programs and teacher if you're looking for current programs. Okay, so that's APAC. So next we have the APS, which has relevance at both the student level and professional levels. So APS stands for the Australian Psychological Society. The APS is an independent organisation who provides psychology-related resources to both the community as well as psychology professionals and students. So this can include like a find a psych function, which is finding information about psychologists near you type thing, as well as the APS Code of Ethics. The APS Code of Ethics are ethical guidelines that guide any practicing psychologist. All psychologists at any level are bound to this, and students, professionals, and the community can freely access the information in the Code of Ethics via the APS website. The APS also has free resources as well as member-specific resources. Membership is available to either psychology students, provisional psychologists, registered and endorsed psychologists, as well as retired psychologists. A reason that the APS can be helpful is because psychologists are required to keep up to date with emerging evidence as well as maintain ongoing professional development and supervision to maintain their registration. And the APS provides information, resources, as well as opportunities surrounding these for their members. Another helpful resource that the APS has created is the Study Pathways Diagram, which I've included below in a link in the description. And I'm also going to be making a video that specifically goes through this step by step with examples. Anyway, that's the APS. Okay, moving on to AHPRA. So AHPRA stands for Australian Health Practitioner Regulation Agency. The first time you'll likely interact with AHPRA will most likely be at the end of your 4th year, so your honours year. This is when you've probably been accepted into a postgraduate course and need to apply for provisional registration as a psychologist. So AHPRA is a government organisation who regulates all health practitioners throughout Australia. So this is not specific to psychologists. This is relevant to any health practitioner in Australia. AHPRA serves many functions, though it's sort of like a resource point for information relevant to codes of conduct, practice standards, registration as a practitioner, as well as resources surrounding reporting a practitioner. AHPRA also directs individuals to the relevant board for the health practitioner. And in the case of psychologists, this is the Psychology Board of Australia. So the Psychology Board of Australia is a component of AHPRA. So again, the Australian Health Practitioner Regulation Agency. The Psychology Board of Australia is specific to psychologists with the primary focus on protecting both its primary focus is to protect the community's safety and interest. The board is also tailored to the practice of psychology in Australia, though they do report to AHPRA. So we've got, AHPRA is the overarching, and then you've got the Psychology Board, which report to them. So in cases where pretty much anything it is a decision-making process by the Psychology Board of Australia, AHPRA will have the final say on the matter. So the board will, have all the information relevant to the discipline and practice of psychology. However, more often than not, or as far as I'm aware, AHPRA has the final say on all matters, or majority of matters. So as a component of AHPRA, through the Psychology Board of Australia, you can register as a practitioner, report concerns surrounding, pretty much anything, and you can gain information relevant to psychology as a health practice. So this includes guidelines, registration standards, and support services that are tailored to psychology. The Psychology Board of Australia also regulates the registrar program for any psychologist seeking to complete an area of practice endorsement. So if you want to know the details or any further information relating to a registrar program, you would be best to go and look at the Psychology Board of Australia because they regulate it. Alrighty, so that's the Psychology Board of Australia, and that wraps up an introduction to the bodies relevant to psychology in Australia. I hope this was helpful. If there are any similar topics that you would like me to cover or have questions about, please let me know in the comments. But for now, thank you and take care.